welcome to the BCI 2020 podcast, episode number 3. I'm with Heather. Am I pronouncing correctly?
Heather.
Yes. And so I want to preface the first question. So you're walking down the street when there are streets after everything. And you bump into someone and he says, "Hey, you look familiar to me. Who are you?"
I went to Brooklyn College, class of 2018. I went to BCI in 2018, loved that experience. Now I work at Clark University Hillel as the IAC coordinator for Israel engagement, so maybe they know me from there. But those are probably the biggest things that they might know me from. And also Moishe House. I've gotten involved with Moishe House a lot post-college.
And so you finally found out, like, how did you know each other? But then he asks you, okay, so what have you been up to lately?
I moved from New York during the pandemic to live with my boyfriend in Florida. So I fulfilled my Jewish obligation to live in Florida at some point in my life. And then fortunately, I found an amazing position with Hillel at Clark University. So now I'm up in Massachusetts and it's been a great experience so far. I love, meeting all the students there and getting to know everyone in the Worcester, Central Massachusetts area. And it's been great.
Before we start everything, there's something I need to know. Are you, do you get a pizza with pineapple or not?
No.
Okay.
No
Good.
pineapple for me.
We can continue with the podcast.
Both of those things are great, but individually.
Yes. You know what? I want to jump to, so one of the question is that, like, what combinations of food?
Ooh, I like this.
It doesn't need to be alcohol, but what like combinations do you like with separate things?
Okay, well, the first thing that comes to mind since I love cheese is fondue. I love all kinds of fondue. I've been making that a lot during the pandemic because it's very easy, but also delicious. So I love figuring out all different types of combinations of cheese and what I could pair that with. And I've also been making a lot of chicken marinades. So basically figuring out what flavors would soak really well into chicken and then come out great if I bake it. So I guess the things I've been experimenting most with is fondue and then chicken marinades.
Oh my God, this is something I'm going to Google. How to make a cheese fondue. Yes. Sounds
and it's like
amazing.
an activity, it's not just you make it and then you're done. You make it and then it sits there and you have to swirl things in it. And it's a whole fun experience.
Wait, follow up. Does it have a scent, a smell when you do?
Oh yeah, you get that nice melted cheese smell. I still remember the first time I ever had fondue. I was a Girl Scout as a kid, and we had this thing called Girl Scout camp where every cabin with every troop had a different country that they were representing, and then we toured, the themed cabin. So I remember when we got to the French cabin, or maybe it was Switzerland. That would make more sense. I think it was Switzerland. They had a huge pot of Swiss cheese that was like bigger than my head, and I was just blown away by them just swirling the bread around the cheese, and then it was absolutely delicious.
Oh my God. And to this day.
If I were from Switzerland, that would just be my main bragging point. Just
yes,
the cheese.
Sounds like it. So speaking of Switzerland, if you had to move to another country, which one would it be?
Ooh. Probably Israel, to be honest. It's funny because since I've been involved in kind of Jewish life and Israel work for a while, people always think, oh, you've considered Aliyah, right? And honestly, I haven't thought about it too much, but if I actually had to pick which country I would move to outside the US, it almost certainly would be Israel. Just the idea that there's so many different Jews, doing Jewish differently from around the world, getting together and, having a place to call home and figure out ways to do that beautifully. It would be so exciting. There's just such a warm spirituality and sense of unity when you go there. So yeah, if I had to pick a country outside the US, it would be Israel.
Yes. Okay, I'm wondering, so that would be interesting. So, okay, which song would be the theme song of your life?
Ooh, it's funny. the person who I actually recommended for BCI in 2019. I don't know if you might know her or not, but her name is Celia Lewin. And it's not a good movie, but I really like this movie that we both watched together called The Kissing Booth 2. And there's this soundtrack that's like kind of the culmination of the movie. And they have this song called Lost in the Wild in the background. It's by Walk the Moon. And like I said, even though it wasn't a great movie, it was worth it even just to have this like one song constantly on repeat afterwards, because it's all about this idea of just, exploring life and like life in the wilderness and being willing to get lost in it and not look back too much and be willing to try new things and go out of your comfort zone. A lot of things that BCI are about, actually. So if I had to probably pick one song, that's felt like the soundtrack of my life in many ways and continues to inspire me to keep going, that would be it.
Yes. And so would it be like from being in the Scouts to camp, like?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I didn't think that I would necessarily work for an organization like Hillel growing up. I thought I wanted to go to law school and, work in politics. And I'm still very interested in, politics and, making a difference in the world. But I specifically realized that at least the avenue that I want to do that in involves the Jewish world. I'm very passionate about Jewish life in general and community building, is pro-Israel work. And I think that the idea that even my first trip to Israel was the summer between high school and college. And that's what's inspired basically my entire journey, career and personal life after that. So, it was literally getting lost in the wild, like the title of the song, and then just going with it. It's not what I anticipated originally, but I fell in love with that and have just continued to go on this crazy adventure since.
Amazing. Okay. So what's American in your eyes?
Ooh, what's American? I think this like concept of the marketplace of ideas is very American. This idea that, almost like the two Jews, three opinions concept, the idea that all of us, have some type of interesting background or opinion, and we all get together and kind of just debate it out and let, whatever idea out of the whole marketplace of ideas win in democracy. And I know we're filming this the day after the riots at Capitol Hill, so it's almost a crazy time to say that with all the ruckus going on. But, I like to think that in this country, we still find ways to unify and figure out what are the best ideas to move forward together. So I think that's something that is very American, even in this crazy time.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. On a totally different topic. But
well, you don't just want to talk politics?
I can for hours. But okay. I feel you'll see with the question, but I feel dirty putting those two questions together. But okay. You must tattoo one sentence on yourself. Which sentence will it be? And where will you tattoo it?
Well, definitely somewhere that's not visible. I personally am not a big fan of tattoos. Actually, a couple of years ago, I was with my good friend Alana Cohen, and we saw a live taping of a TV show. I want to say it was like the Meredith Vieira show. I'm from New York City, so that was something that was, not uncommon. And there was this trainer from, let's say, The Biggest Loser, like one of these weight loss type shows. And I noticed during the taping that he had the word koach in Hebrew tattooed on his arm. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And I came up to him after the show and I was like, wow, like that's so cool. And he's like, hey, someone from the tribe, he was so excited. So I think something like that, some type of inspirational word in Hebrew, maybe even koach or some other, meaningful type of word. But I always think of that. I think it's so cool that, people find meaning in other languages and are able to incorporate that in different ways in their life.
And it's 2 letters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 3 questions that start with what makes you, and you can answer with only a sentence.
Mm.
What makes you laugh?
My boyfriend makes me laugh.
What makes you proud of yourself?
when I push myself beyond my comfort zone and I'm able to feel successful in what I've accomplished.
And what makes you sad?
Makes me sad to see senseless hatred in the world.
Okay, so on that vibe, what principles are worth fighting for? Or not fighting for in the fighting sense, but like pushing for?
Interesting. I think the principle of respect, just no matter anyone's background or beliefs, and promoting an idea that we can all still talk to each other, and not shutting anyone down just because you think they're from this place or that place or have this idea or that idea. Just promoting a sense of openness and respect and dialogue, I think, is something that's very important to push for.
Okay. I want to know, okay. First of all, which habit would you get rid of?
I would say overthinking. I think I like to do things well and I like to do them right. But I think at the same time, that also makes me prone to overthink things sometimes. And oftentimes, you kind of just have to go with your gut reaction and say, you know what, this is the good way to go about it. I'm just going to take this idea and run. So I think I'd like to be a little bit more confident and quick in my decision making. I think that's something that I've been trying to work on and slowly making progress with.
Okay, so for kind of wrapping it up in the last question,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know if there would be like an AMA Ask Me Anything About You, what it would be about, and what would be one of the interesting questions?
Huh. I would probably say ask me anything about my obsession with roller coasters and amusement parks. That's just my happy place in the world, and I could talk for hours on on the roller coasters I've been on and the ones that I want to go on. I've been on the tallest ones and the fastest ones, and I have friends that I specifically know are the people I go to for theme parks, and that's definitely something I you won't get me to stop talking about.
And what would be a good question about that?
Good question. Ooh, what's
What's
the
the
most?
biggest task? Yeah.
What's the most scared of ride you've been? And I think if I had to answer that one, I was with my friend Katie. Actually, this was right after BCI. So now I think about this is a good story. But at BCI, there's like this little it's like a swing where they pull you up like 25 feet in the air and then they release you and you swing back and forth through the air. You know what I'm talking about? And I had done that and it was a little scary, but I was like, okay, this is not too bad. And then I had visited my friend Katie immediately after BCI, and we went with her brother to a theme park, and she goes, oh, there's something exactly like that at that theme park. It's just a little bit bigger. So I said, oh yeah, sure, I'll go on it. We get there and it's one of those like sky coasters where you're basically bungee jumping down like 154 feet in the air. And I'm like, this is something that I always promised myself I would never do. It just looks too scary, too insane. And I was like, you know what? I just came from BCI. They told us to push our comfort zones and good things came of it. So you know what? Let me do it. And I did. And it was insane. I think the worst part, honestly, was just being slowly pulled up those 154 feet and seeing how far, you're going to be launched from, because
oh my God.
At first you're like 50 feet up in the air and you're like, okay, this is a little too high, but whatever. And then you get to like 70, 80, and you're like, this is just impossibly too high. It doesn't even matter that I'm going up further. Like, this is all just in the range of impossibly too high. But then you fall and it's so cool. And then the second you get picked up, I still remember my thought was, oh my God, that was awesome. But then also that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought that would be. And like, that was simultaneously the most I've ever been scared of a ride, but also it was probably the best ride I've ever been on. So I've kind of taken that with me and said, you know what? The things in life that you feel are going to be the most scariest, those are, within reason, of course, the ones that, you shouldn't be afraid of trying, the things that you should go after with confidence. So that was Probably my best experience on a ride that I've had.
Yes. Where was it? So if people want to check it out.
Yeah, so this is a sky coaster. I know they have them at like Six Flags and things. I've been on it a couple of times, but this particular one was in California's Great America, I think it was called. Really great theme park.
So the checklist for after.
Yep. Oh yeah. Problem is I keep doing more and more crazy rides, so my tolerance level keeps going up and I got to find the bigger and the crazier.
Yes. So to close it up, where can people contact you and what would be like a good thing to contact you about and vice versa?
Yeah, for sure. Well, people can contact me at my email. Is that something that I should specifically say here, or is that just like listed later?
I'll leave it in the comments.
Okay, sure. So people can contact me by email, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, whatever works for you. I am in the Facebook group for BCI, so if you found this that way, you can definitely find me there. If you want any help with, building Jewish community, anything about Israel in general or Israel activism in specific, any writing advice, very happy to help. And even if you just want to talk about, the craziness of exploring your Jewish identity and what that looks like for you. And, we're all on that journey. So I'm very happy to have a discussion like that with anyone who's interested.
And what can people contact you about?
Working at Hillel and building Jewish community is something that you could approach from many different standpoints. So of course, if anybody has any ideas for, ways that you build a community that's really worked for you and your, the people in your community, I'm always happy to, hear suggestions because, there's so many interesting ideas that I hear that I'm continuously impressed by. So, always happy to hear more.
Yes. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. It's really been great.